All right, just to quickly kick this video off, what I'm going to be doing is going over some of my design decisions for both the three capture points that you can see on the map right now. You got the first capture point over here on the left hand side. You got the middle capture point right here, and then the third all the way over on the right hand side here. We're going to be playing mostly from the perspective of the offensive team, which spawns down here, and then the defensive team spawns all the way in the back section of the warehouse. Just a little quick rundown of this game mode and kind of how it fits into the overall match progression for Operation Red Rhino. This is going to be the allied base node, so this is going to be the kind of special forces team. If they get pushed all the way back into their base node, this is their final stand. The defending team is going to be the rebel forces. The offensive team. Did I say that right? The offensive team is going to be the rebel forces. And what's going to happen is there's 3 nodes on the map before this node. Capturing one of those nodes will unlock a corresponding flag on the base node. So if we capture all three of these flags will be unlocked for capture. If we only capture the outer 2 nodes coming in here, only the outer 2 nodes or only the outer 2 flags will be available for capture. And capturing those points awards the offensive team a set of wave respawns, whereas the defending team gets unlimited respawns with a respawn timer that will extend depending on how many of these flags are captured. So if I come in here and capture one of these, now the defenders spawn slower when they die, etc., etc. So we're gonna come in here. I want to talk about my design decisions for the actual approach onto the flags, and then from there I want to talk about my approach from those flags around into the final objective over here, which if the offensive team takes, it is a match victory for them. So I'm gonna go ahead and spawn in and kick it. We'll start with flag point 1. Alright, so if we hop in here right at capture point 1, we're going to be looking at the perspective of the offensive team. Once we capture this point, our objective is to now push forward through the rest of the enemy defense into their base. So from here we have 3 options on how to progress around this warehouse here, because right on the other side of that is where the enemy base is. So if we have a saboteur or a grenadier, which hopefully we would have coming into this node, we could blow through this wall over here to the side. We could blow through the window here on the warehouse and just go straight in, which is good if there are enemies kind of holed up in there that were already shooting at us while we were trying to capture this point. This kind of acts as a flanking route that we can then go over and support the middle point if we have teammates over there trying to capture that. And it also acts as a kind of a counter to up here in this building, where that's a focal point for the defenders to kind of get to defend that second point. So if we wanted to push through and help out our teammates, that's the direction we would go. What we're going to be focusing on right now is going all the way left around the outside of the warehouse. Usually, especially kind of more tactical players, they like to sweep around the outer edges of the map and kind of look inwards. I know I personally like to do that as a player, so I want to just focus on that for a second. So right here we have a branching path on where we can go. We could go all the way to the left here around this truck, and there's like a set of barriers under there that we could wrap around. We could go straight up the middle, or we could hop up here onto the loading dock, go into the warehouse that way instead of blasting through the window over there. Or we could use the kind of sewage tunnel right here to get in, and that'll act as another way into that warehouse if there's a lot of enemies holed up in there. We want ample opportunities for the offense to kind of infiltrate that building and tear that defense apart. What we're going to be focusing on first is the center route through here. The two outer edges act as counters to some of the danger points that I'm going to be talking about for the center route. So we'll do the center route first, and then we'll come back and we'll look at how the flanks maybe offset some of that, and will help out a savvy offensive player to nail the defense there. So if we move up the center here, my goal here is to create a U-shaped set of focal points that the offensive player pushing up the middle kind of has to follow. I also like to call these danger points, because while they are focal points, the player recognizes them as places that the enemy might be holed up. They're defensible positions that the offensive player needs to be wary about, and I want to kind of guide their eye in that as they come around this corner, so that it's not as jarring. They're not getting shot from a direction that it doesn't make any sense. I want everything to kind of flow and not take the player completely off guard. So the first set are these barriers here, which again, if we would have wrapped around the outside, we could have negated this initial one. A player could be here, player could be here. If we continue, now we're going to follow this sandbag wall, which right now it's just BSP, but it will be a sandbag wall. And now we've gone from very, very close quarters, maybe still close quarters, medium, and this is going to funnel kind of into a longer range. And then we're going to hit this rock here as we come around this corner, and that's going to be a kind of mid to long range shot right here for our assault rifle players. And as we continue around, we're going to have this window straight through here, and then it's going to come right back down to this short game. So if we run through that again, kind of full speed. So we're assaulting up the middle. Maybe we got guys going up on the loading docks. Maybe we got teammates going around the flank. So we're going to hit the short, mid, long, longest, short. And that's how we want to tackle that. All right. So that's kind of how I want to guide the player there. It's just one continuous, and you can see the sandbag wall, the way that it's kind of curved, it'll actually just guide the player's eye or reticle for that matter up straight into that rock. So they're just going to turn, bam, window, bam. If they follow that rock up, it's pretty much a natural progression to that window, and then back down to this little spot right here. All right, so let's go around some of the flanking routes here. So if I wanted to push to the right, maybe I know that there's going to be a particular defender up there. Maybe he's killed me before. Maybe my teammate pushed forward first and died, so I know exactly where the enemy is. So if I push all the way around here, now I can peek this sandbag wall. I can peek the sandbag wall from right here, and I'm not exposing myself to the rock. I'm not exposing myself to that window up there. I'm not exposing myself to the low wall on the side. So if I come around, now I'm exposing myself to the rock, but I'm tackling these one at a time. Bam, and the tree here, actually, I know it's a little bit hard to see that window. I'm gonna have to work on kind of just identifying that as a window with some lights, or maybe my texture work later on. But for right now, it's doing its job. That tree actually blocks that window, so right now I'm actually safe. I'm not exposed to that window until I push all the way around out here, and even then I have those trees that are sort of blocking my the sight line from down there just a little bit, not a lot. A sniper will definitely be able to get a guy. If there is a heavy gunner up there with a mounted machine gun, he'll be able to cover this whole funnel here. And that's one of the main reasons why I need so much variation in cover, so that a single machine gunner can't sit there and just annihilate guys down here. I don't want them to have to funnel straight through one path and just be dead. So if they wrap around here, they're hitting the same sort of U shape. They're just kind of tackling it a little bit at a time, a little bit piecemeal, and they have the ability to kind of back around cover if they feel the need to, which is something they don't have if they're pushing up through the center here. If they push up through the center and they find themselves in kind of a sticky situation, they're a little bit more limited in their options than they are if they push through the flank, but they'll get to the objective a little bit quicker. So that's just kind of a choice that the player has to make. So then the other two choices we could do here on the outside of it is we could hit up the top of the loading dock. Whoop, had a little bit of a slowdown there. We could hit up the top of the loading dock, and we could either push into the warehouse and try and flank around that way. There will be some windows up here that'll help out with that flank. But even if we just push through here, we'll be able to wrap around, hit these sandbags, hit that rock area. We'll be able to peep the low wall here without exposing ourselves to that high window, and then finally we'll be able to hop down and get that high window. The same can be done if we crouched under and took the low route. We could get this sandbag wall, then wrap around, hit that rock, hit the low wall, hit the window. All of this is just options. That way a defender can't be sitting, if I go from the defender's perspective, a defender can't just sit up here by the sandbag wall and know exactly, like, okay, I'm going to sit right here, I'm going to point right here. As he comes through here, I'm just going to gun him down. I have to be watching this little spot. If they get past there, I have to be watching over here. Now I have to cover the center and the low spot, and I got to watch out for the wraparound from the loading dock. It's a little bit more dangerous for a defender to cover. They're going to have to be a little bit more savvy about where they're posting up. Same goes if I run up here to the rock real quick. They're not able to just stare in one direction and cover one little funnel. They have to be constantly watching a couple different spots, and an offensive team that's utilizing all of those routes will definitely be able to puncture a defense. Alright, so as far as capture point 2 is concerned, we have 3 entrances for the offensive team. Well, technically 4. One of them is a jump spot, which I do consider an entrance, but most of the time I want 3 on-foot entrances that don't involve any sort of mantling or anything like that, just a straight route in, and then if I want to play around with something fancy, I can do that too. So we got the one route right through the main gate, and we got a couple options. Once we push through the main gate, we can push right to the left here and wrap around these boxes and kind of get defenders that might be up on this little sandbag wall right along up here. And again, it's all about just getting those focal points down, or those danger points as I call them, and kind of guiding the player in what they're looking at. So this focal point, as they're coming along this sandbag wall, will end up naturally right at this window, which is another danger point where the enemies might be. And then from there, I could actually wrap around up here into this little warehouse building up on the catwalk. And that was one of the positions that I was saying that the defenders would be utilizing to defend this point, that after you're done with capture point 1, if you wanted to blast through that bottom wall, wrap around there, this is actually, that would actually be a secondary way up into this building from there if no one pushed up this way. When you push through the center point here, this is going to have to be an explodable wall. So a saboteur or a grenadier will have to open that up for you. Again, you're going to have one of those coming in here, so it's really just how you're utilizing that player on the map and where they're going from here. There's a couple points throughout the map that you might want multiple grenadiers or saboteurs as to open up multiple routes at a time at different points. But here there's 2 of them. We got the one off to the right and the one in the center. If you push through the center one, you have this rock for cover here, and then this is going to be a jungly area once we get to the full-blown meshing of this. So from this rock, then you can peep some of the defense around these vehicles, up on this wall, up on this sandbag wall, maybe behind these hedgehogs here, and then you can either wrap around on top of this hill, and this will give you a good vantage point on the defensive setup, or you can push right to the flag and try and take it from there. Same kind of goes with the outer right flank. It's just a kind of a quicker way over to get to this vantage point on the defense. So if I hop in, all right, so we're going to start with the front gate here. The spawn point's right down there, so it's going to be the first one they see when they spawn in. It's going to be the most obvious route. So this is going to be the one that probably most players, especially new players, take into this position. So when you wrap through, you can see that the defenders will all be either behind those vehicles, just the way that the times kind of play out. This rock, these sandbag walls, or the windows over here that I showed you earlier in the warehouse, the lower windows. So if we wrap around all the way to the outside, you can see there's a route there that I can push through to kind of flank any defender that's behind these vehicles. Then the sandbag wall, now I'm peeping the sandbag walls, and then bam, there's the window. So that's the last of that. And then there's this little ledge up here that if I don't have anybody pushing through these flanking routes, then that would be something that I would have to keep my eye on also. And then if I push all the way up, now I am in, this will be a closed door, so a defender would have to open that in order to shoot somebody here. Now I have a vantage point to kind of be a guardian angel for my teammates that would be down here trying to take the flag. So if I actually go down to the flag, instead of pushing to the left, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to push directly to the right. I could push straight forward and kind of take cover on this tree, and I'll be a little bit closer to the flag. I'm going to come over here though, just so I can wrap the flank routes up in this also. So if I wanted to take cover over here by this rock, that's another thing that I could do straight from there. If I came right through here, then I have this rock to play with. I can peep the hedgehogs, the vehicles, the sandbag wall. The only thing that I can't see, and it's actually a good thing, is that far window in that back corner of the warehouse, because that's going to be something that the defenders are trying to utilize to get me. And hopefully I have a guy pushing up top here so that we can kind of negate that window over there. And then from there, I can wrap around, I can push up against this wall, take cover here. Now I'm not getting shot from this warehouse on the other side of this rock wall here. And I could come in and I could push from this side and start taking this flag. That way, if there's defenders over here, if the defenders only set up on this, I guess it's left side for them, I can actually push through that hole, wrap all the way down in, and start taking that flag without them being able to see me. So that forces the defense to have to spread all the way across this point and not just stack up on the closest side to their spawn point over here. And again, even if they do that, we have this far right flank for the offensive people to come in, flank around, and take out any sort of setup defense over here. It's really just all about giving the offense enough options and the defense enough places to cover that they have to spread themselves out and not set up in one condensed location that they can just gun down on the position. We need to give the offense areas to flank. We need to give the defense fun areas to cover, and we need to give the defense fun things to do on their side also, like push up this, wrap around the catwalk, and now they have the catwalk, or push underneath from their side, come through this little area, and now we can't watch the front gate from here, but we can get the two outer entrances here and do some stuff there. And if they push through the front gate and push to their left, now they're over here in this area too. So it's really just about designing routes that are fun for both sides to kind of take and learn and figure out. I got caught up on the vehicle there. Figure out what is going to counter the enemy's setup or rush route that they're taking. All right, and for point 3, it's a little bit easier to kind of talk about the defense first and then talk about the counters that the offense has for it. So the defense will be able to set up in these windows here or they have this building over here that'll be destructible by a grenadier if they have the underbarrel grenade launcher. There's a staircase up here that can't see the flag, but it sees these two outer flank positions. Same with pushing this way down here. We can't really see the flag much if we take cover over here, but we can at least negate the flanks if the offense is using those flanks. And then if we're up here, we can see the flag. We can see 1, 2, a little bit of that third push right here. But if we peep out a little bit further, you can see that there is an entire route here that the offense could push up, get into the warehouse through these sewer pipes, or push up along this wall, kind of come around this corner and get that guy right there if they're in this window, or if they're right here on the ground. So if we go down and look at the options that the offense has, so the offensive team is going to spawn right over here. They can push down low through this little ravine, through this cave here, and from the cave they can't spot the flag, but they can see the general area here. And then they have two options here. They can push really close, hug this wall, try and capture it, and they're really only exposing themselves to these two windows right here, which we're going to be offsetting some of these. So 2 of those windows out of these 4 are going to be blocked off, and a saboteur or grenadier on the defensive team is going to have to be able to open those up. So that's something to keep in mind for us also. If we push right through here, we'll have to look at the loading dock here, and we'll have to look at the window, and we'll have to look at these boxes here. So it's really just, as we come around here, it'll be bam, 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 and then that'll be the last danger point that we kind of need to spy from that direction. If we wanted to push all the way to the outside and peek at these windows, we can still peek at these. Oh, sorry about that. We can still peek at these 2 windows right here without exposing ourselves to the second set. So that'll give us some options. And then if a defender drops down into the sewage pipe here and wants to kind of play a little bit more aggressively, or maybe just get in there and shoot straight through, it's kind of hard to see an offensive person that's down here just because of the height differential. But if they wanted to push through there, this is a spot right here that could counter that aggressive play. And then we have the loading dock. We still have the window a little bit. If an enemy is playing this right side of that window, you won't be able to see them, and they won't be able to see you past these boxes. But then we also have those boxes that an enemy could be behind. All right, so along with the low route into this, we have a mid route here that kind of wraps around, gets eyes up on the windows a little bit earlier, gets a better vantage point on the loading dock. It can see down into the sewage pipes, and it provides kind of a flanking route for this window here. This is going to be the route that maybe an assault rifle player, maybe a sniper rifle player wants to play, whereas this is going to be more of an SMG, try to get into the point, play a little bit more of a close game player is going to want to go. And then there's this wide outer route. If the defense is just totally set up here, maybe they got this building, your team made a bad call coming in without a grenadier, can't get this building down, you can come around this side and totally flank this building here. So if I'm a defender and I'm sitting here and I'm watching this point hard, I'm looking here, I'm watching for sniper rifles, assault rifle players, I'm getting the SMG players that are coming up here, that they just can't push in. There's always this flank route over here for an offensive player to wrap completely around. It's going to take a little bit longer. It's not really meant to be a route to the flag point. It's more to come in here and just play a disruptive role, knock up the enemy defense a little bit, kind of shake them up, make them move around a little bit, and at least again, like we were talking about with point 2, give the defense a wider area to cover and have to spread out over, instead of just allowing them to kind of sit in one position and focus their attention on 1 or 2 routes. We want to give the offensive players enough routes that they can formulate a game plan around the defense, and then the defense can then formulate a game plan on the routes that the offense is taking, or maybe set up here with a sniper rifle and watch this route while we have a guy down here in the building watching the actual flag point. It's just team composition, teamwork, and then just a wide plethora of options from there. And then pushing up from this point, we can actually push straight up into here, take this route down here, push up through the warehouse this way. If defenders are in this warehouse, we can actually jump up on these boxes. I can turn the light off real quick and just kind of show a little bit better what we're working with here. Jump up on these boxes here and shoot down in there. If we go into the warehouse, I'm going to leave the light off right now. We haven't worked on the interior lighting, so it's a little bit dark in there to see. Or I guess I could, let me just do this real quick. I know. So I'm going to turn this one off, and I'll make this one, that didn't do it. Alright, I'll just have to turn the light off and come back in and play with the interior lighting later. So here's the sewage tunnel here. There's two ways that we could go in here. We could push in this left one if we wanted to break into this warehouse. And again, it's just about getting those danger points, kind of highlighting those with boxes and stuff, highlighting those with the skylights so that your attention is brought upwards. It is definitely darker in here than I intend it to be, but it will be darker on the lower section and then lighter on the upper section so that your eyes are kind of drawn upwards and you're not just kind of staring straight ahead. And then up onto the catwalk where the defenders will be set up. Now, there is also, if I am pushing up through this way, I can push all the way down and kind of negate, counter this spot right here. Because if I was a defender looking straight down in there, I got this whole section right here covered just by sitting here. But if they push up through this right tunnel, or now left tunnel also, they can come up right on my side and I'm never going to see them if I'm just sitting here. The other thing that can happen is if an offensive player pushes all the way through and comes out here and peeps this and says, oh man, there's a ton of enemies in there, or there's an enemy up here and they can actually get through here, they can get down through to the counter spot as well. So I think that plays out pretty cool, especially if there's a lot of defenders kind of posted up in this building trying to stop and advance from capture point 3 into the final base.